Well, I can talk about a couple of fire jumps I had. One was, these were both when I was stationed at Redmond. One was these are two large fires. One was we took off in the afternoon and flew down to southern Oregon on the Fremont National Forest near Lakeview, Oregon, and we had a DC-3 load of jumpers, and I was the squad leader for that crew, and it was a big fire. It was probably maybe 150, 200 acres, and we got there, and smoke bellowing up. You could see it for miles before we got to the fire. And we circled around for a while with the spotter, and he and I talked and selected a jump spot, in a safe spot away from the fire. In this case, we were wanting to get a little ways away from the fire. So we jumped out. I went out first as the squad leader, landed in this meadow that we'd picked out, but that meadow happened to be filled with, it wasn't just filled, but it was mostly lava rock. And I thought, boy, that's if I do a regular Allen roll and that stuff, it's liable to end up breaking a leg or getting my ankle caught in a rock as I turn to fall. So I ended up, first of all, trying to bag a little juniper tree that was in the lava field, and all this of course had to be decisions made within the last 500 feet. And I missed the juniper, and my next thought was, wow, I don't want to twist or break an ankle, and so I ended up landing on my feet, and then from there mostly going to landing on my head. So I hit my head, and I felt like I was probably maybe knocked a little bit dizzy, for maybe it wasn't more than a minute, but I was okay. But then, and the next, of course, was getting everybody together, getting our tools, and we spent the next at least 2 hours just standing back, watching this fire burn. We were out in the meadow, and or this lava field combination of meadow, and before we decided what to do, and I ordered some fire troll drops, and they came in and slowed it down, and then we began working on a large spot fire, at the kind of the flank of the fire, and by that time, that was late in the evening then, and by that time ground crews arrived, and by the next day we had gone, we were released and gone home because the ground crews are there, and tankers, bulldozers came in, and they continued to drop lots of fire troll. I do have a somewhat famous picture of a B-17 dropping 1,000 gallons, two of his tanks of fire troll, and I won a Joe Rosenthal photo contest, winner of that picture. Another large fire I had was again, we're a DC-3 load of jumpers. We were dispatched all the way from Redmond, Oregon, over to the Salmon National Forest in Idaho, which is very unusual. But they had a big fire bust going on at the time in the West, and they needed to. Usually you go to another base like Grangeville. In this case, would have been Grangeville, Idaho, just to support them in a boost. But we went, we were dispatched all the way, and by the time we got to Grangeville area, it was dark. So we landed there at Grangeville, and we, camped out, bunked out that night, and took off the next morning. And it was on the Indianola Ranger District of the Salmon, and I'd never seen such steep country in my life. It was really steep, and we jumped that morning up on a ridge just above the fire. The fire wasn't really going real fast, but it was probably 15-20 acres at least at the time. And we spent the day working down one flank of the fire down below, lined out, and the main thing we had to worry about was the rolling rocks and logs, from the burning. So we built probably one of the hugest cup trenches you ever seen in your life as we were going along. It just wasn't a bump and a scratch and bump fire line. It was huge. And then we spent all that day and into the night too. This is the days before you were really forbidden or told not to do much firefighting at night. And we worked through the night, and the main job that night was to the safety of the people and keeping watch out for. And probably had half of the crew on watch out while the other half was working. But we worked pretty much around the fire by the second morning. When a ground crew had finally walked in, it was quite a distance. I don't remember the distance, but it was quite a ways. But we didn't have to walk out. We had a helicopter rides out. So it was there was just a couple of fires that probably helped capitalize on the leadership that that I picked up and learned along the way somehow or another. I might want to add back to that previous fire down the Fremont. One of the interesting incidences that occurred there is it was such a large fire. It was putting up so much smoke and heat that one of the jumpers, I was trying to think of his name. I'll think of it. Anyway, he got caught in the heat of the fire, and his parachute jumped, and his parachute, instead of going down, actually went up, and up at the same time were embers from the fire. So he was getting embers, holes burned in his parachute, and there he was, and he was able to work on pulling the risers down on his parachute to try and collapse his parachute, to get out of that situation. And normally it would take maybe at the most 2 minutes, to go down. He was up in the air for well over 5 minutes. And I saw him last year at the Redmond reunion, and we were sharing stories about that. And he says that was one of his most memorable fire jumps.